Welcome back. A little breaking news out of the state of Idaho. A trial date has now been set for murder suspect Bryan Kohberger. All the parties have agreed to a June 2025 trial date. And this, of course, has been, the family's been very frustrated. It's been a year and a half and still no trial dates. That's gone back and forth, and now here we go. During this hearing going on right now, a trial date has been set.
All right, let's go into court for that moment there in the Latah County Courthouse.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, first, I know the court has listed this as taking place in Latah County. We haven't been heard on our change of venue yet. That's to come.
Totally understand that.
So I don't want anybody thinking I'm agreeing to Latah County is all. The June of 2025, that's the time frame that we have been working towards. I am hopeful that we can come in there. We're working towards that date. I think it's reasonable to set that date. As the court's aware, mitigation is something that takes a significant amount of time. We've had that underway since the day we took this case. We continue to work that very hard. I spoke with our mitigation expert last night about this date. And there's a lot of work yet to be done, but we're still working towards that. So I think it's reasonable to set that. I just want the court to know that that's not finished at this point. That's very much ongoing, and new things are coming out that we need to follow up. But with that said, I think it's reasonable to go ahead and pick the June of 2025 as a trial date at this time.
And by the way, I think you understand that, all counsel understand that, but this is a 3-month trial. So I was calculating 2 weeks to set the jury, then 8 weeks of trial, and then 2 weeks for mitigation and sentencing. And I mean, that's a guess, but I think it's enough time for all of those things to take care of. And obviously, the last 2 weeks would only be if Mr. Kohberger was convicted. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do want to bring up a couple of issues I have with some of the deadlines. I looked this over. Our team has talked about it. I've gone over this with Mr. Kohberger. I do have a couple of concerns about the deadlines, and I'll just bring those up to the court for the court's consideration. As far as motions challenging the death penalty, and that's in right under.
All right, there you have it, June 2025 as the trial date for this trial that's so anticipated by so many people. November 2022 was when these 4 lives were taken. The suspect there inside of the courtroom. 3 months long this trial is expected to be. 2 weeks of jury selection, 8 weeks for the trial, and if there's a conviction, 2 weeks for that penalty phase. Let's bring back in Ted Spalding, who is standing by. Ted, your thoughts on that change of venue that's still pending? The trial date doesn't really impact that. The defense attorney wanted to make sure, hey, we're not agreeing to staying here in Latah County, where the college is that these 4 students attended.
Yeah, I like that. That was the hint, hint, judge, let's get a ruling way of presenting that to the court to remind them, because clearly she wasn't waiving that by agreeing to the trial date. I am very interested for the ruling on that change of venue. Change of venue is brought up by motion a lot in high-profile cases. It's rarely granted from what I've seen, and there's been plenty that I look back at and say, this is probably one that should be granted, and then it's not. So it would be rare that it's granted in this case, but you know, what we were talking about is we have a small town, very high profile case. Would that be enough in and of itself? Then of course we've got this unique survey that is being allowed to try to generate the evidence to show to the judge that, look, everybody is biased. We cannot get a fair trial for the defendant here in this county. Thought that was a very interesting strategy for the defense, as it's been reported on, because you're always worried, are you biasing the jury against your own client if you don't win the motion and the people that got this survey are now on your jury. So all of this is very, very interesting. They're putting all their the defense their eggs in that basket. They want this venue changed. They really do believe that their client is not going to get a fair shake if they must move forward now what looks like June of 2025 with the trial here in this venue.
And all parties in a death case have in the back of their mind the automatic appeals that go along with the death penalty in this country. And if you're sentenced to death, you are afforded, at the cost of the government, appeals, and it can go all the way, it will go all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. So the change of venue is a big one in that, let's face it, it may, at the end of the day, if he is convicted to 4 counts of death, recommended for death, and they don't change the venue, that's number one. And the defense is doing a very good job of making it very clear. They're pushing and talking and making the record very clear, we want to change a venue. This is a college town, a small college town, and 4 college students were killed. This hit home in this community like no other conceivable case you could come up with in terms of how it affected a community, because the university is so intricate within the community. I don't know, Ted, your thoughts on the judge, factoring that in, even the state, if you're going to go for the death penalty, you have to take that into account, correct?
Yes, and quite frankly, both sides, right? Either side can appeal. So just as much if the ruling is not changing venue, what if the ruling is change venue? And then there's an acquittal. The other side, prosecution, could appeal, say that was not a good decision by the judge. So there's concerns on all sides, but yes, judges always, rightfully so, are concerned about their rulings and can they be appealed. Defense is always trying to create as many avenues to an appeal as possible. This is ultimately one of them that is used, is changing venue in a high-profile case like this. So smart on the part of the defense. The question, again, for trial strategy is, do they go too far in wanting to build all of these building blocks to a good appeal if venue is not transferred? That is what we'll see when the trial actually occurs.
If he's acquitted, there's no appeal from
right, no appeals for the state. They can't go back and do anything. But we do, just thinking about an appeal in this case, because overwhelmingly people believe the evidence is there. And my question, I know, Ted, you've talked about this Boise, Idaho versus where they want to move it, a bigger city, the capital of Idaho versus Latah County. I feel like the court is going to have to address how he would be prejudiced in Boise when everyone knows about this case. To your point, people there are more intimately impacted by it. They were the ones who didn't know who did this horrible crime. It's been all this time, these college kids are dead, and they perhaps feel a different way about it. But in Boise, Idaho, I don't know that it's any different for him in terms of people who know about the case. I think there's more that the defense would have to show, that there's a safety issue or something about staying in Latah County, especially in the summer when there's going to be perhaps some more room in this college town because kids will be on summer break.
Yeah, I get what you're saying is that Boise's not, Manhattan or New York City. There's a collective consciousness there that is very aware of this. And that's what the state's arguing. This is what everybody argues in every one of these cases. But the jury pool is 10 times, 20 times of what it is. This is why the Daybell case was moved to Boise for the same reason. Chad Daybell is sentenced to death, and guess what? Change of venue is not going to be part of his appeal because they changed the venue. It's a pain in the butt. It costs a lot of money for local taxpayers. But it takes that away, and at the end of the day, if you want a death sentence against somebody and you want it to stand up, change of venue is a big one, especially in a huge case like this. And this is 10 times bigger than Daybell, right?
For sure. For sure. When we talk about the country and their attention on this, I'm not sure about the impact to that local area because everyone was looking for the kids in the Daybell case, so many people knew about it there as well. But We're, of course, going to continue to follow every development out of that Latah County, Idaho case. We will, of course, keep an eye on the change of venue when the judge makes the decision on that. But meanwhile,